Monkey, 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 and more. It's Steven's Monkey Reviews.
Hello there, collectors. It's going to be Steven here, and welcome to a dual SH Monster Arts review where we're going to be taking a look at the newest, latest, and greatest, no it's not even close, SH Monster Arts figures to be released from Godzilla Kong the New Empire. Today we're going to be taking a look at Kong and Godzilla 2024, though technically there's going to be two Godzilla 2024s, but you know, Godzilla evolved. Yeah, hype. I don't know. Seems like there's some people who are really super duper hyped for these, others they're kind of in between. What I will say is we have repaints. Yes, they are repaints. Some folks are saying there are significant differences. Honestly, they're not. I've pretty much disassembled these from head to toe. Like I said, pretty much. And the similarities will probably surprise you. So let's take a look to see pretty much why it doesn't really matter whether or not they're worth adding into your collection. You go ahead and you do you. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be back to you on this one. This review is going to be different. You'll see what I mean. So for Kong here, they are going to be repainting the original SH Monster Arts Monsterverse Kong. And the reason why I say the original is the event exclusive one, exclusive edition, whichever terminology they went with. That one had sculpt in it to recreate the scars on his chest and so forth. And even though they did attempt to go with a paint pattern on the chest to recreate those scars, they actually, one, don't match up, and two, it's paint, it's not sculpt. So they went with a unique sculpt for the SDCC, not exclusive, and they went with paint for this. So that'll be a point that I'm coming back to with exclusive stuff only being used for that. But Kong here is going to be looking a little gray. He's going to have a bit more of a matte paint application to him. And basically, I think this one looks for a great snow appearance Kong. You know, when he was, I think, getting ready to go down into the hollow earth in Godzilla vs. Kong. So I think that's pretty neat. What I do think is really commendable here is that they did use the dot matrix printing thingamajig for the eyes for both this and the alternate head, which is really good because now we have eyes that can and should look in the same direction forward. So yay, thumbs up on doing something pretty basic. Otherwise, for the paint application, as you know, monkey, dark fur, it's pretty difficult to see the finer details. So any complicated paint apps, they're pretty much going to be lost here, which is sad. But at the same time, the more so complicated stuff that we can see, like the muddy looking stripe on Kong's back. What girl crap up her hair? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's kind of questionable in terms of that, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the Kong is not accurate. I'm going to go into that a bit more at the end of this review. So if you weren't happy with that, you're definitely not going to be happy here. For the accessories, like I said, this review is going to be built a little bit different. We do have 3 sets of hands that came with the original release, along with the axe, some call it a tomahawk, and the roaring head. So the hands are going to be the hands to hold the axe, the splayed out hands to make him look like a DJ, and knuckle walking hands, or the hands to scratch his butt. So first and foremost, the roaring head, and spoiler alert coming up, we are going to talk about those in just a little bit. Yes, we are going to have to go into spoiler territory. So the axe is going to be, again, the same as previously released, sculpt wise anyway. The material used to hold the not Godzilla dorsal plate in place is looking like mud. But the actual axe portion, the blade, is made of translucent plastic, and it looks really cool. It does not match the accompanying Godzilla's coloration, so good job. But here's where the spoiler comes in. The axe only glows blue at certain points in the movie. So, for the majority of the movie, when the axe is on screen, it should not be glowing. Furthermore, when Kong has the axe, it's after he gets his tooth replaced. So no matter how you splice it, the figure pretty much is inaccurate. Cool. Nice. Godzilla. Yeah, so I have more to say about Kong, but again, we're going to be talking about that at the end. Godzilla is going to be a repaint once again of the King of the Monsters release, though admittedly there have been some changes to the sculpt along the way, and that is going to be more so reflected on the inner workings, though apparently the head sculpt has changed at some point where the Burning Godzilla or the event exclusive, the blueberry icy variant was made. But anyway, Yes, we do have a repaint here of a figure some folks wanted, but unfortunately, it is landing and hitting a bit different. So I will say kudos for coming up with a very, very nice interpretation of the atomic blast version of Godzilla. We're going to talk about a little bit of light spoilers in this section. I mean, I wouldn't be disappointed knowing some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, to be honest with you. But here for Godzilla, there's some things that look really cool, and then unfortunately, otherwise, the ball is seriously dropped. So the head, once again, terrible. It's awful. The eyes, okay, they're nice atomic metallic blue, which is neat. The teeth, they're horrible as usual, but the head definitely looks shrunken, and I'm going to touch on this a bit more. It is actually shrunken, and it protrudes out way too far. The main body is just basically going to be a charcoal gray, black coloration, which, there's not a whole lot going on there. At least the Godzilla vs. Kong one had some dry brushing to really bring out some of the details, but the claws and the toenails are painted. Actually, it looks like the same muddy color that was on Kong, so yes, they saved money there. Nice. Where the big draw is going to be, though, is going to be the dorsal plates. Now, it was noted by some reporting fan sites that what we saw in the promo pictures was actually going to be a production piece and not a prototype. Turns out not true, because the paint applications, if you zoomed in, are different from what everyone is receiving now on the final product. So for the dorsal plates, at the base, we have, it's basically going to be purple. We have a nice purple outline, if you will, at the bottom of the dorsal plates. And actually, this is a pretty neat sort of thing they have going on here, despite the fact that Godzilla's got a mohawk. I don't know why they went with that, but nice choice of colors. I think so anyway. As we go up, we do have metallic blue for the dorsal plates, which this doesn't match up with the Monster vs. Godzilla dorsal plates in any way. They did get it accurate for the GVK one, but hey, you win some, you lose some. Where it gets really weird is that even though, interestingly enough, the white on the tips is really cool, and that does harken back to, in the movie, spoiler, he is gathering the energy from the reactor, and he kind of turns white for a second for the nuclear energy. This isn't what he looks like at all. What they did decide, though, is like basically take a Gundam marker and draw white veins on the dorsal plates. It did not come out too well. Yeah. Oh, remember how for the night color version or whatever, they painted the purple blue pattern on the figure, but they didn't paint it anywhere underneath, like the sculpt parts? Yeah, as you continue on down the tail, they basically did the same thing. So neat stuff here and there, but honestly, in terms of execution, it's just kind of, whatevs. Accessories, basically, this is going to be a greatest hits of the 2019 and forward MonsterVerse figure. We have the alternate set of splayed hands, which already comes attached in the box, and then we do have the relaxed hands that came initially with the 2019 Godzilla. Then we do have an alternate jaw part, so this way Godzilla can support the atomic breath. In the promo pics, the jaw and the beam were two different colors, the atomic energy parts. So here for the final product, it's slightly off, but not really that big of a deal. The beam on mine is definitely warped. You definitely need to get that straightened out there, pal. And it does have paint at the tip of it, like it does turn into sort of like a almost frosted blue, but it is pretty jarring because it goes from clearly translucent from basically 75 to 80% and then quickly jumps to a creamy blue. I just said that. So, you win some, you lose some. Now, here's going to be the biggest thing. I'm going to talk about this again more in the next section, but the articulation for this guy, when some folks initially got this, they were very much so praising that this thing had new, updated, or at least changed joint tolerance for the articulation. That is not really going to be the case here. Like I did make mention in the Kong section, I stripped these figures down pretty much for the individual joints, and what I noticed is that, yes, there have been changes to the sculpt since 2019 in terms of the inner workings of the figure, more so specifically, like there are parts that are carved out, so this way stuff can move here or there. But everything internally is pretty much looking the same as the Godzilla versus Kong one. But what you are seeing on the screen here now is that for the Godzilla Kong the New Empire, so GXK, the joints are actually pushed out farther. The sockets are. So this way you have less of stuff colliding together and interfering with each other, and you actually have more gappage in the figure. I said that in a serious tone. So this way you can have things move around a bit easier. Yes, that is correct. So these Godzillas are actually assembled a bit better than the GVK ones. So for the GVK, you are going to have a lesser range of movement, but that is because those joints, particularly the sockets, are sitting flush and more appropriate, while here for this figure, they are more exaggerated and popped out more, so you can get those sick tail movements like you're seeing. However, if you actually put forth the effort with your GVK figure, you can get him to look down, which a few demonstrated that you cannot. I didn't do any sort of editing or changing to the figure here, no Photoshop trickery or so forth. I just did this. Another note as well is that the GXK figure is made of a somewhat softer plastic. Think if you do have the Haya Atomic Breath figures, the normal versus the translucent one. That's kind of what we have here. So, yeah, all right. With that being said, let's move on. Well, it's so we're kind of done, I guess. I mean, what really otherwise meaningful thing is there to cover? Buy now, skip, or wait for a deal? I'll give you my real thoughts there at the end on that topic. But I guess when it comes down to it, before we even continue on, the real point being here is it doesn't really matter what you spend your money on, right? It's kind of what I hinted at the top. If you like something, if you want something, go ahead and spend your money on it. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what somebody on Discord says, a Discord mod. It doesn't matter what somebody in a Facebook group says, or the Twitter, the Instagram, or hold on, I gotta do Godzilla's jaw goofy. It doesn't really matter, right? Or even if Scar King is gonna laugh at you, right? Because you buy MonsterArts, right? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Okay, because these are figures you can purchase. But for the review purposes, we're pretty much done, because what else meaningful is there to cover? Except, and here's where Steven comes in. For Godzilla, I mean, what else do you really need me to cover in this video? It's the umpteenth repaint of this sculpt, where we've had changes here or there that have basically just been a detriment to the figure. I mentioned the articulation, and I showed a couple of things in terms of how it was quote-unquote updated, or the tolerance was changed, which not really. I mean, the tail does this, which if you stress the GVK one, it can do that as well. And interestingly enough, boop, that's where my GVK one, the tail tip likes to pop off as well. Yeah, looking down, looking up, all that fun stuff. I showed you that. So, do I need to go over the range of movement? No, I don't, because it's the same engineering. The paint, do I need to show you all of the ones side by side? Not really. Why? It looks different than all the others, so use your eyes. Price? It's $75. Is it worth that much? No. But I'll talk about that more in a second. Kong. It's kind of a moot point. Why? Because, again, it's inaccurate. We'll talk about sculpt and accuracies in a minute. It's higher than the original release of this design. And when this was announced, a part towards the end, people were saying, oh, I missed out on the original release, so this may be a bit more expensive than the original release. But hey, I'll be able to. So we have the event exclusive Kong, right? So admittedly, you know, he's about $100 or so. You could get him through Premium Bandai, but he sort of rotted on the virtual shelves of Amazon for quite some time, and even dropped to like $75 shipped, because I've got 2 of them. And he actually just somehow magically got a restock right around now. So you can still find him for $90 depending on where you look. Amazon actually just got more in stock the other day. So even though he's going to be $75, he's going to be $90, and he's going to come with more stuff that is unique and exclusive to this release, which was not included with this one. Why? These are lazy. These are lazy. And I don't really know how to hammer that home any way other than to spell it as LAY-ZEE. These are figures that we have had repainted time and again, and now they're offered to us again. One of the big defenses of that is going to be, at the time these were made, they had incomplete or inaccurate models or source materials or references. So there are going to be inaccuracies. So let's give them a little bit of a break. And to that point, yes, I agree. Like, let's take for an example, Kong. Back in 21, when we had Godzilla vs. Kong, what Tamashii Nations did is they took his skeletal structure for the movie, they passed it on over to the sculptor, and then it was really well known in the animal and so forth model and figure community, Shinzen, and he basically made what we have here. So that was in 21. Tamashii Nations made a calculated decision to do something that was stylized, and though what we did get was nice, it wasn't accurate. Okay. So that was in 21. This is in 24. We know that Kong's model didn't really change except for maybe here or there, which clearly they're willing to repaint, not update the sculpt for. But instead of actually doing that, they just repainted. So now here's the implication. We have Kong with axe, which, yes, he did have the axe in the movie. For how long? A laughable amount. Are we going to get a Beast Glove Kong? And if we do, what sculpt are they going to... They're going to reuse the sculpt? Or are they going to make a new sculpt? And did they just... Come on. Godzilla. Again. What? This is abhorrent. There's no excuse for this. I'm sorry. There really isn't. Going back to 2014, Yuji Sakai, who was the sculptor, again, he went off of reference material that was outdated, inaccurate, incomplete. But for this one, come on. Okay, we have some updated engineering changes if that's what you want to go with. I guess we'll draw a middle ground there. But the problem is, we have sculpt changes that have happened over the years. We have stylized takes on the figure and the sculpt. Why have we not had changes since the actual model for Godzilla hasn't really changed since 2019? You mean to tell me that from 2019 until 2024, how many years has that been? Yeah, you couldn't go back and do some sort of change to the actual sculpt? Because, okay, maybe we didn't really know whether or not Godzilla's model in the movie would change between King of the Monsters and GVK, but you mean to tell me that now we wouldn't know that GVK and GXK wouldn't have the same base Godzilla? And you wouldn't offer us a new one in any way? I mean, at this point, honestly, what we can say is it's neglect. This is neglect. That's what I would say is, in my assessment, this is basically neglect of the MonsterVerse releases. And that is very, very upsetting to say, because in reality, what this is essentially a cash grab. Oh, okay, so now we're starting to see the point, and now we're going to be seeing that this is minimal effort. This is the same song, and it's a new dance. And realistically speaking, for you, for me, the collectors who have been involved for so long now, there's no enticement to pick these up, right? Either of these, there's no reason to get them. Really, there's none. So what is the reason to get these? Honestly, I don't find any reason to get these regardless of where you stand. Did you miss out on the GVK figures? Unfortunately, I don't see that argument holds water. The reason being is that there were plenty of clearance sales that happened on all of the reissues and the original issuance of the figures, which were cheaper than these two. There are still some that people are finding at Targets. They're actually around near me, where they're on clearance right now, and they're even on clearance for anywhere between $35 to $40. Yes, actually, clearance prices can change, and they've rotted on the shelves for years. There are even some sites like Awesome Collector. They've had a Kong and Godzilla 2-pack available, not official 2-pack, but you could get them for pretty much the price of one of the figures at MSRP. So to say that maybe somebody missed them, maybe now if supply is dried up, these are your only options, but even this guy mysteriously just so happened to get restocked at a few websites. And particularly with Kong, he's 75, he's going to be between 90 and 100. Save a couple of more pennies, and this one comes with accessories that one should have come with, like the gritting teeth face, the accurate scars on the chest that are not painted, and more hands, hell, even the explosion effect on the axe, that would have fit with the final battle in GXK. Okay, so I suppose that another reason might be is somebody could say that they like the paint application on these, they just simply accept them for what they are. As I'm going to point out, Bandai has Bandai money, but trust me, Bandai doesn't need your money. So if you just accept them for the way they are, what standard, realistically speaking, would we then be holding the line to? And what standard are you accepting for not only yourself, but your collection? So why accept this when we can do better, right? Why accept? So if you're going to be a new collector, for an example, and you're thinking, wow, Steven's being really harsh on these, well, welcome to the channel. Please click subscribe and please hit like. You're going to like it here, trust. First and foremost, I just grabbed this one at random. SH Figuarts Piccolo Naranja. Cheaper and more accessories than both these guys. Some may say, oh, it's not the best example because he comes with accessories from like a sort of not really subline where accessories were spread out by DLC. How many times has this Godzilla been repainted and released? Yeah, that is bigger, probably more complicated, arguably, and looks a lot better than Godzilla. But again, what about something similar, something equivalent? Well, how about, again, for new collectors? You're thinking, oh, get in the game with SH MonsterArts, get in the game with, how about we take a look at Hiya Toys, something that's going to be bigger, nicer looking, a bit more accurate. Now, you may say, Steven, they just cranked out a whole bunch of different variants of this one, repaints and so forth, and that's pretty cheap, right? I mean, cheap as in like, wow, you cheapo. No, because they just entered into the Monsterverse market. They got all of the core Monsterverse Godzillas out there. And by the way, when did the original GVK Godzilla came out that people had issues with and Hiya corrected? And when did the updated Monsterverse Godzilla hit the market with fan feedback and price didn't jump through the roof? And we still get this? So the point being is there are plenty of other companies that are out there that are making equally nicer product for a more affordable price point that Tamashii Nation simply is objectively not listening to fan feedback and executing here. Okay, so there have been basically no changes that have been meaningful for the collector, despite the fact that there are other companies who are really doing this. Now, I guess the biggest and the most successful argument here is you want them. And that really can't be fought in any way, shape, or form. Which, if you do, buy them. Go ahead. Get them. If you want them because of the accessories, you want them because you like the movie, go ahead. I'm not trying to argue against you here. I'm not trying to argue and try to persuade you not to get them. I'm bringing this up because, realistically speaking, companies, as I've hopefully clearly argued, they don't really like to listen to me or people who are like me, reviewers. What they like to do is, hey, what sells, clearly. And that's it. That's the video. Have fun. So what my job is to make content for you at home to help you make better, more informed decisions. So if you like this, have at it. Have fun. Link in the description to pick them up if you would. And have a great day. But the reality is that these videos are meant to be informative, and I'm here for you. So this way, when you make a purchase, you're going at it with an informed mindset of what you should be expecting. I'm not here to make a video for a company to say, yes, this is what we like. Please make more and hand a check over. Not interested, because what does that do for you? It doesn't really do much. Because if I'm posting this video and I'm rizzing this one up and you get it and you're like, wow, he's got some questionable white lines on his back. Steven didn't call that out. First and foremost, that's not fair to you. And second, that looks bad on me. We got a thing going here. Let's keep it good that way. So, on my end, would I buy these? No. But here's the last section of the review. The true buy it now, skip or wait for a deal. So technically, past Steven, take it away. So I guess more so formal. Buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. I'm going to have a more so detailed video on this concept coming out hopefully soon. But reviewers, more so particularly, I'm speaking on behalf of myself, we're cut from a different cloth. We're built different, as the meme goes. And honestly, if I were just the normal collector and I didn't have a YouTube channel, I wouldn't reviewing, I would not get these. Period, end of discussion. There's just no reason for me to get these. And for the majority of collectors out there, I don't see a reason to get these either. There are plenty of other alternatives on the market that you just get a better bang for your buck, you know? I mean, I get the appeal, SH Monster Arts, you want this is appealing, but honestly, you can get something much better. And what I think is there is this sense of community. There's a sense of wanting to be involved. There's this sense of let's get in on the hype. And what I would say is I totally agree. There's a culture with collecting and wanting to be involved and making sure, you know, you have friends, you have that social. But here's what I'm going to say. If you're looking to get in on the Monsterverse hype and you want to really spread the love and be in there with your pals, there's a reason that I got the Playmates up here. I'll go ahead and get into a bit more detail, but if you really want to help spread the love of Godzilla and really show your support, but you know, you're okay with these, I honestly would recommend something a bit different. So what you see here is honestly just a small portion of what you can get with the equivalent of about $150 if you were to buy these. So you can actually double up on all of these and get a little bit more if you look for sales for Playmate stuff. And you're probably like, Steven, what the hell am I going to do with that? Well, it would have been, you know, smart of me to check to make sure that the homeless shelters and domestic violence shelters, you know, didn't have a, you know, corporate policy about how stuff is donated before I did this, but check to see around your area, you know, where some, like I said, shelters might be, or some toy donation drop-offs might be. And you can get this at minimum and donate it. Go ahead and do that instead. Like, okay, we're adult collectors. I get that. At least that's who I'm communicating to here. But keep this in mind. This stuff here, what you're seeing over here, sure, we can have, right? We can have. I can pull everything out that I've reviewed on the channel. We can get that. But honestly, do you know how many times when a Monsterverse movie has come out, I've walked into a Walmart, a Target, whatever, and there's always one kid who's like, yeah, Godzilla. Can you just imagine how many kids out there who maybe they see a commercial, maybe they see a friend who have that and they don't have the chance to have that opportunity themselves, maybe that Godzilla is going to be a little kid's best friend. They maybe don't have a chance to get it. So instead of just saying something along the lines of, oh well, that's just my MonsterVerse Godzilla that I'll have, why don't you get the Haya instead? Maybe buy a couple of these and see if there's, a local domestic violence shelter who might be able to accept a few donations. Again, look to see how and what they accept first. That might be beneficial. Of course, maybe you don't have that option available. Maybe you can't physically go out and do that, right? Maybe there's some sort of Amazon wish lists. That is a great way to do things as well. And maybe you kind of have a little bit of a standpoint from, as I do. And, hey, actual people, they get a lot of help, right? I mean, donations come in a lot of time compared to the likes of animals and animal shelters. So I'm going to go ahead and put my money where my mouth is. Clearly, I wasn't able to donate this for the sake of demonstrating, of showing, not telling. Yeah, you can actually make a donation to animal shelters as well. There are other options out there. So the way that I see it is, don't get something just because you have to. You know what I mean? You should get something because you want it and it brings you joy. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm not forcing you to do anything. What I'm mostly just saying is, if you don't like these, don't get them just because you feel obligated. Bandai has Bandai money. They're okay without your money. You're fine.